So, you've done, is it 20 episodes of the Wellness
Yes,
Series?
20 episodes of the, we've done, so I'm just calling it season 1, because I was like, I googled how long do you make a season, and then I just felt like 20 episodes was coming up to mid-December, and then we'll just call it and we'll start again, and then the new year.
When are you starting again?
So episode 1's actually already recorded. I think I want to get a couple more pre-recorded, and it should be out the second week of January 2024.
Cool, awesome.
Yeah.
Who's been your favourite guest that you've had so far?
Oh, I was thinking about that. I don't think I have a favourite guest, but I have like sections of different podcasts that I love. So the Hudson Pitt one, he's my triathlon kind of coach. Everybody said how much they loved his episode, so that's probably up there, being number 1. I think the Paige Allen one talking about women's sport was really up there because it's like a niche topic that not a lot of people are talking about, and a lot of like the ACL injuries and how common they are in women's sport. I think the research is only just coming out and people are putting more effort into that at the moment, which is really good.
Yeah. If you could choose anyone to interview, who do you think you'd have on the podcast?
Look, honestly, this is like a big one, but I'd love Beth Mead, who plays for England, or like she plays for Arsenal as well. Any of like a famous soccer player, or like a Steph Catley, or just to go back and see where they started. So women's soccer player.
Awesome. That's cool.
Football player, but
Is soccer your favourite sport?
Yes, at the moment. I go through phases, but at the moment I think since I've always been like a Matildas fan, but since the World Cup and like going into all the good players around the world and watching sort of like the Champions League and the WSL in England, definitely. I would literally sit there and watch it.
I mean, what the Matildas did during the Soccer World Cup was pretty amazing.
I've been watching them for years, and to watch them improve and like people actually paying attention to them now is insane. Like, I've heard more people talk about the Matildas than the Socceroos in the last year, which is good.
Well, I just think they did. Like, I think we live in a world right now where things are quite divisive. And I think something like I felt like they brought all of Australia together for a moment.
I think that's very rare for something to happen for being a World Cup and in Australia. Like, it was maybe like a 3-month process, and to build up how good they were, then we almost made it to the final. Like, everybody was so interested.
Yeah,
like I work in an office with men, and we were talking about it, and that some of them would be like, "Shut up about the Matildas," but the other ones were like, "We're actually staying up watching this game."
No, that's what I mean. Like, it was this super uniting moment.
Yeah.
Like, it was kind of like everything played out perfectly. Like, you had the right level of like underdog, tension, hope.
Yeah.
You know, like a win, then it's like, well, can we do it again?
And then like the penalties against France and stop the nation.
Yeah.
Like, there's not a lot that can stop the nation like that, but it did.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
No, it was really cool to see. I think whenever you have like a good narrative in sports, it makes people buy in.
I think it'll be very interesting going to the 2024 Olympics, knowing that you've got your Sweden out, you don't have England playing. I think we have a chance. I'm not going to say it too confidently because I don't want anybody else to get on the bandwagon. But I think there's a lot of big teams out, and especially America not being at the finest form might change after Emma Hayes goes over there and sorts some stuff out. But I think, the Olympics are going to be a good one to watch. Now,
what are your thoughts about maybe the pressure that they felt, like, leading into those last 2 games?
I think a lot of the best players play in high pressure teams in Europe, and so they're used to it. So yes, the people that you would have been most worried about, like your Courtney Vines and stuff, who still play in Australia, they were the people who were probably feeling the most nerves. But you got people like Steph Catley playing for Arsenal, and Sam Kerr plays for Chelsea. They've won so many like Champions Leagues, so I don't think that would have been too much pressure.
Okay.
They're just used to it. Like, they're playing in bigger games every year, or if say like every week. So
yeah. No, that's cool. With the podcast, the little pod dog has finally fallen asleep.
Yay!
Which is good. Which is good to see. With the podcast, where have you taken inspiration for the way that you've done it?
I think a lot of different podcasts have come into it. So I wanted it to be something like The Imperfects. Like, I just love how they interview, but then also the Female Athlete Project in the way that they talk about sport. So it was kind of like if them two married together. I say to a lot of friends, like if Bruce McAvaney and Lee Sales got together and hooked up, which is probably never going to happen, but like they're both amazing journalists. That's where I wanted to be like.
Yeah.
So like a sport journalist like Bruce McAvaney, but also interview as well as Lee Sales.
Yeah.
So something like that.
Yeah.
So I think also it's interesting since Jenna's no longer on the podcast as well. So the last 8 episodes, I reckon, I've kind of gone off on alone. And it's kind of gone in a different direction, but I'm pretty happy where it's gone.
Yeah, how does that feel, I guess, starting the journey with a friend and then continuing on without them?
It's easier and a lot difficult. So I think not having like the break episode every week where we would just have a banter chat, which was pretty easy because that was like, didn't really have to prepare for that. Whereas now every week's an interview. It's a lot different because like I knew with us, I knew what to edit. And the editing process for just me and her was like half the time. Whereas you have a guest on and the ums annoy me so much that I'll literally sit there and cut out as much as I can. And so I think it's added more time onto the editing process, but at the same time, I've gone in a very diverse way of different sports and people. So
you feel like you have more freedom now, I guess, with the direction that you'd like to take it?
Yes and no. I think it's nice being able to bounce off somebody. I really find having to keep up the social media side so much harder as well, which is what Jenna looked after. But yeah, I don't know. There's pros and cons to both. I don't want to say that it's better without her because probably not. But at the same time, we're getting more views. So
yeah,
it's working.
That's cool. I mean, if it's
I must be doing something alright.
Yeah, no, that's good. No, I really like your podcast.
Thank you.
I like the diversity of it.
I can't get in my head when people come up to me and say your podcast is amazing because to me, I'm just sitting in my front study, like interviewing somebody. I edit it for a couple of hours and put it up. I'm like, great, that's like another assignment done. But I'm like, I'm still getting around the point of people like, we listen to it. Like I'm obsessed with the numbers and checking that people are listening, but it's weird putting a product out that people are listening to. I think it goes back to like my design side of life that once I finish a project, I kind of try to block it out and like, okay, on to the next one. Whereas this is very much like, oh my God, people are consuming this. It's hard to think about that, but yeah, it's on the move, so.
I think anything in relation to social media is weird because we just see numbers on a screen.
Yep.
Or anything, I guess, like on this digital age where you see views in a video or numbers on a download, and you just see that maybe it's 1 or 2 digits or 3 digits or 4 digits, and you go, that's just numbers. You don't associate that's like people. Yeah,
I think, but it goes back to when I was at uni. You finish just like you could spend hours on a massive post or a project, but I like to hand it up and then I block it out of my mind. Like I'm like, that's done, what's the next thing? Do you know what I mean? It's just how I've always worked, and it's just weird now. That project is now being a thing that everybody sees. Like I'm so happy everybody's seeing it, but in my head, like I don't know, I can't explain it. They're never happy with the final product, and I could honestly edit for hours more, but there's a point where you need to stop and just send it out.
How do you manage that, being, I guess, a perfectionist? For example, I'm not. Like this will be very minimally edited,
which is fine.
But some people on the other side, like I used to have a podcast with another friend, and we would have like big arguments over this. Like he would just happily just not release something if he didn't think it was good.
I'm not to that point of not releasing it because I know I've put so much effort into it. I just don't want to throw away the person's time that I've interviewed. But I think I do put a lot of effort into editing to make it sound good, and I think going into season 2, knowing that I could probably pull back a bit on that, and people like, a lot of podcasts are a lot less edited these days and a lot more real. So I think that's my goal for season 2, to pull back a bit. But honestly, I wouldn't mind taking less time to edit because it's taking, to make it perfect in my mind, it takes probably like 3 to 6 hours each episode. So.
How are you finding the interview process with people?
I bloody love it. I think I don't know, I find that really comforting knowing that you have questions in front of you, and just wherever the question goes, I've just always loved that kind of podcast, and I kind of talk to my friends like that. So not so much like interview my friends in the daily life, but I like that style of podcast, and there's a little bit of structure, but it's so loose that you can just let it go wherever it goes, and if a better topic pops up, then we just follow along, like ride the wave with it.
Yeah, I guess what I'm asking is, one of the things that when I've interviewed people that I sometimes, what I'm really trying to get to is when we talk to each other in general as people, we have like these weird masks that we put on.
Yeah.
That's what I feel anyway. Right? Like it's like the version that I want you to see.
Okay.
And it's like when you have a best friend, like you know the real version of that person, and you pull the mask off, right? Or like when you have a partner, like you're not there with that mask anymore.
Do you feel like you have like a different type of you for every person?
No, it's more like I'm trying to, when I'm talking to someone, I'm trying to see like, where's the real you? Does that make sense?
Okay, so that you're poking for more.
Yeah, like, I guess, and sometimes finding that real you with people comes from something really mundane or really basic, right? Because, you know, let's say you get an athlete on, they get interviewed about their athlete life all the time.
I think I tried to be different. So going back to the episode where I had James Newbury on, he's been on so many podcast episodes that I was kind of doing what you were saying, like pulling the real him out of it, because I didn't want to listen to his same stuff that he said on every other podcast. I kind of thought about the questions going into something like that to kind of pick away more at his personal life without being too intrusive. So like you say, to take that mask off and get the real them.
Yeah, for sure. Do you know who Howard Stern is?
No.
So he was a radio jockey in the US.
Okay.
Probably did like the first version of podcasts, like on radio.
Yeah.
And he would ask people like he'd get famous celebrities and ask them wild questions. But that, like, I love it because he, like, it was just so true and real.
I think that's why when I interview people, I have those 5 fast questions at the end, and I say to them not to think and just to literally blab out the first thing that comes to mind, and that really, like, I've got a lot of answers out of people that probably would have never said.
Yeah.
So I think having small parts of your podcast like that will make people think without having to put it through like a mask or anything, that's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, moving back into fitness.
Yes.
Since you've been in the fitness industry for a while, I'd love to get your take on a few things.
Yes.
What are some trends that you've seen in the fitness industry recently that you like and you don't like?
Okay, so look, I honestly, the last couple of years, I've tried to stay away from following so many trends. I think the biggest one in the last year is Pilates, especially reformer Pilates, which is great. I tried it for a while, but I just got a bit bored of it. Like, you've just got to find the right place, which I found an amazing studio to go to, but I just have such a hectic lifestyle, and if it just doesn't fit in properly, like, it's the first thing to go. So, but Pilates is amazing if you do it right. I think a lot of, like I said, I tried to stay away from trends. So, like, your CrossFit and stuff are cool, but they're very, like, have a time span on it. So anything with a time span, I try to stay away from, because I get bored of that kind of stuff. Like I said, like, if everybody's doing one thing, I'll try to go the other way to stay away from it. So, yeah.
Did you try things like CrossFit in the past?
Yeah, I did CrossFit for 2.5 years, maybe almost 3 years, because I got with a trainer just before COVID, and I just wanted to learn Olympic lifting properly before I wanted to, like, join a gym. And then after COVID, joined a gym, and I think I was there about 2 years. And the only reason I left was just because the coaching standard wasn't great. So I'd probably still be doing it now.
Okay. Yeah. What's something that you miss about CrossFit?
I think the friends, like training around a group of people every morning, keeping each other like very accountable was amazing. Because now I just train alone. Other than I swim in a group and stuff. But I think if like I used to be training and a friend might put some more weight, I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna do it too. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're getting stronger together. Whereas like if you're benching now in a gym, and I was like training with my brother yesterday, and I just knew he didn't know how to squat, so I didn't go as heavy as I probably could have. I just did like more reps at a lower weight, because we were going like in between each other. So training with friends, I miss that.
Yeah. What you mentioned, like the standards of the coaching weren't up to scratch. Do you think that's something that, in what way did that come out? I
think so. It's a natural progression in a gym that you have the newbies come in, and then the newbies move up to like an intermediate level, and then they kind of get pushed at the back of the class. And it's just a forever, like, newbies get looked after, then you get pushed back as it goes. And I think once you get pushed back, you're kind of overlooked. And that's when the injuries start coming, because you might have got a habit and you just keep doing it, but nobody's checking on your form or anything. And so that kind of thing. Like, it's great that you're looking after the new people at the back of the class, but you've got to not forget about the people who've been going for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's really hard in a CrossFit setting, like, for that to work. Like, because I guess...
Yeah, a good trainer knows how to do it well, though.
Yeah, but I think, like, for example, like, I hate when I go... I mean, one of the things that I hate about CrossFit gyms is being coached.
Okay.
Because I think sometimes you do get to a stage you're like, I know what I'm doing. Like,
I think there's a point of being coached and there's a point of checking your form are two different things. Like, I'm the same, like, I didn't want to be super coached, but I wanted them to, like, maybe come over and check when I was doing a heavy lift just to make sure it was right.
Yeah.
Then they can walk off and go and check somebody else.
Yeah.
But at the point that I was never being checked is I got this habit and then I kept getting injured with my hamstrings, my back.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, this is not great anymore.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I think it's such a fine line. Because you do have...
where they need to bring in trainer amounts to people in the class. I think there's a point where maybe, like, say, if you're getting 20 to 30 people in the class, you need to have 2 trainers walking around. That one trainer I get is not going to be able to look at everybody in the short time, so why don't you just bring another trainer in?
Yeah.
I guess it is the money of paying them, but at the same time, it's the quality of the service that you're charging. You need to probably have that second trainer on walking around too.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and that's what I mean by I feel like CrossFit has this, like, forever challenge.
Yeah.
Of, like... Because I just don't think financially it does work for a lot of gyms to have that. But then they want to keep growing.
Yes.
But then as they grow...
Yeah, which I understand.
It's this thing where people keep dropping off the funnel because, their quality drops or they're not progressing. Or you do get people that maybe... have been there a while, but maybe haven't learned all the skills that they wanted to learn.
Exactly, yeah.
And now they're not being looked after or not being progressed.
Yeah, that's what I feel like. So, yeah.
Yeah. In the CrossFit space, because you do, I know that you train lots of different things, like you do swimming, you do weights.
Yep.
What was the discipline that you found yourself, like, most attracted to?
Oh, definitely the weightlifting. Because I've lifted weights since I was about 14, so I've always had a strong base. That's what I found in CrossFit. I was always probably top of the, I don't want to say top of the females because there was always people, maybe 1 or 2 that were stronger than me, but I was probably in the top 5 strongest females in the class. But then you come to the gymnastics and they never happened. I was always like, could never get my head around like pull-ups, or I found like I always had stronger legs and a stronger lower body, and my arms, come to pull-ups and that never happened.
Yeah.
So the gymnastics side was terrible.
Yeah. I think it's pretty normal when people do CrossFit, they'll attract themselves to one or the other.
Yeah,
If you're probably good at gymnastics, you might find the weights harder.
Yeah. Yep.
How did you get into the swimming? Was that something that you did prior to CrossFit, or?
No, yeah. Well, yes, I did. I've swum like on and off since I was a kid, but it's triathlon that I was racing. I reckon I got into racing maybe 2017. I did like an 8-week course where we just like did a swim, bike, run session every week for 8 weeks with the group, and then from there I started racing triathlon every summer. So my concept was cardio through like the summer part of the year, and then the off season being like winter, I just got really strong. And so that happened for about 5 or 6 years. So in between the CrossFit, I was still racing triathlon too, and tried to get in the swim and the bike and the run.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Out of the 3, what's your favourite?
Swimming, by far.
Yeah.
That's the only one I train at the moment.
Yeah.
Because I know I can get a bike back pretty quick, I've always cycled. So yeah, that one. The run, always hated running, so that's the first one to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was talking to a friend yesterday who's also a triathlete, and I've noticed that most triathletes always have one area that
absolutely. It's very
they're
common.
like, if I just don't have to ever do that again, I'd be quite happy.
It's all the guys that I swim with, they're like, we love cycling, we love running, hate swimming, and I was like, well, I love swimming and hate running. Yeah. But yeah, absolutely could give away running forever. But I love coaching running, so it's complicated to say I hate running, but I love coaching it. But yeah, that just happens.
No, I understand that. I don't love Olympic lifting, but I like coaching it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think sometimes we maybe appreciate it from the far, but not in the actual doing of it.
Yeah. Look, I'd love to be able to run and just go for a run and clear your mind, but I'd rather just jump in a pool.
Yeah.
Like, no matter the temperature of the water, I'll swim. So.
That's good. Do you swim in an outdoor or indoor?
Always outdoor.
You're
like,
tough.
if I swim with a group and we go indoor, whatever, I'll just do it. But I much prefer outdoor year round.
When you're that's the pod dog doing a bit of a snore. How do you structure your swimming sessions?
So like if I'm in a group somebody will write them up for us and we'll just follow that. The other times I've literally got like a spreadsheet in my bag of like maybe 30 workouts I could do, but most of the time I don't even look at it. I just jump in and see how I feel on a day. So I kind of just give myself like, all right, got half an hour, I'm just going to push out a K and then see how I feel and how I break it up. So like today I was like, I'm short for time because I'm on holidays, I'm kind of messing around a lot. So I was like, all right, I'm going to do a K and then I might break it up into 10 100s. So I warmed up, did 10 like 100s, and I was like, nah, screw it, let's just do like 4 200s and get this stuff over and done with.
Okay, yeah.
So like I like breaking it up, but it just happens in how I feel.
When you do those, I guess, more interval-based things, how long would you give yourself as a break?
Oh, again, it just depends on the day and how I'm feeling. Like nothing more in between 10 seconds and like 40 seconds. If I'm changing equipment, that's when, so like you're putting your paddles or your flippers on, that's when you take a longer break because it takes a bit of time to put them on. But
to people that maybe aren't super used to swimming, what is different equipment that you would take to a pool? Because I guess lots of people might just think, oh, you just jump in the pool.
Yeah, so you can, which I did today because I forgot all my equipment. I thought it was in the car and it wasn't. But in my swim bag, I have my swimming cap, very important because I'm sick of washing my hair all the time, my goggles and my bathers. So they're the three things, oh, and a towel. But the gym I go to give you towels, so awesome. I never have to wash towels. So those like 3 or 4 things are always in my gym bag, no matter what. And then in my swim bag, I have my paddles, so because I have such little hands, and I want to do like speed work, so it's like a thing you slide into, and it's like a piece of plastic that makes your hands into a big, literally turn into a duck. It's great. So you go really fast. So your paddles, then you have like
what would the paddle work like? What does that help you with?
A lot of strength in your upper body. So like it really uses muscles through your shoulders and your back that kind of don't really get turned on if you're just normal swimming. So it kind of, because you're pushing so much more water like through as you're coming through the water, it turns on to a lot of more muscles, which makes you stronger. Then when you take them off, you kind of got everything activated so you can go stronger and faster.
Okay, yep.
I think I'm naturally pretty strong because of all the weights I lift, that using something like that, I like using the bigger muscles and turning everything on to keep it going. I don't know. Sorry, Mum's calling. And then I have like a foam block, and you put that between your legs when you don't really want to use your legs. It kind of like brings your body up, so that you learn to use your body on the top of the water and not drag too much. That's probably the first thing you should buy if you're swimming, because that's really helpful. I don't really like using it, but it's in there. Flippers are good to build up your leg strength, and then I have like a board which you use like if you just want to do your flippers. So probably those 4 things are pretty important.
Like what kind of board?
Like I don't know what they're called, like a paddle board, or not quite a paddle board, but it's just like, you know what the little kids learn to swim with.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, like a little.
Yeah. Okay,
yeah. Like a little board.
Keeps you kind of.
Yeah, you kind of just put your hand. It's like enough that like your forearms are on it, and like it just allows you to float while you put your flippers on.
Yeah. I did some swimming, got some swimming coaching a few years ago. Mm-hmm. So the story was we had some swimming in a CrossFit competition. A whole bunch of us went to the swimming pool.
That would excite me so much. I would love to do that event.
It was fun. We went to this pool to do some training for the competition. One of like the people that was in our team brought their younger cousin.
Yep.
She was 12. We're all like mid-20s.
Yeah.
This 12-year-old kicked our butt in the pool. At the time, also, I should have let it be known, I was the strength and conditioning for a swimming club.
Yep.
Doing the dry line training, not the regular training.
Yeah.
And I just had this realization of like, I should be better at swimming. Like I can't have this 12-year-old.
I feel like it's a skill that you have to have in Australia. Like if you go to the beach and you don't know how to swim, like don't even bother getting in the water.
Well, and like all of us could swim, but we didn't know how to swim like well, proper swimming. So then I was like, I'm gonna go get some like swimming coaching, right? Okay. And that was the first time that I got exposed to things like flippers and
paddles and
like paddles and.
Honestly, the best part is you go into Rebel Sport and they're all like together and you just like buy everything and then.
Yeah, and it made it so interesting to realize that there was so many ways to train swimming outside of just like your standard like. And the biggest thing for me was just learning to breathe. Like I literally went from like I would see my swimming coach once a week. We went from like I would struggle just to breathe, like to do more than maybe 4 or 5 laps without feeling out of breath. And then one day it just clicked and I did like 50 laps. And he was like, yeah, see, you can breathe now.
It was so funny. So when I first joined, I was training under Triathlete at the time, my first session in, and I was like swimming back and forth and whatever, and I finished like the set, like I was fine, like I wasn't out of breath, and the coach came up to me, he's like, you must be like a diesel engine, like how do you just keep going? It's like, I don't know, it just, have a good base, and once you get your breathing right, you're fine.
Yeah, because I guess that was my realization, like how much that technique made, you know, just learning like, you know, how to minimize, you know, a head turn, how to be in a better, you know, streamlined position.
I think that just comes out after time of, lots of laps.
Yeah, for sure.
Whereas like your breathing, if you don't know that naturally from the start, it's really hard to learn.
Yeah, 100%. And I just was amazed that, you know, just that little bit of technique over maybe a couple of months just made such a big difference.
Yeah, definitely. Technique's definitely huge.
Yeah, for sure. When you have been doing like racing for triathlon, will you include some like bike or running training like leading up to it?
How
do you sprinkle that in?
I definitely wasn't lifting as much. But yeah, I think back when I was racing a lot, honestly, I used to do so many spin classes, and that used to call that my bike, and then I'd get out on the road. So I was probably doing maybe 2 or 3 spin classes a week, so that's like your bike classes. And then I'd get out on the road maybe once or twice a week. Whereas the last couple of races, I literally just got on like the spin bike in the gym and probably did a few sessions.
Yeah.
But
how do you find the spin bike translates over to the road?
The cardio base really helps, but like it's completely different. Like it's so hard to come off a spin bike when you've got, like you don't have to balance or anything because the bike doesn't move. Getting onto a bike and trying to click in while it's moving, then like that's the hardest part. It's completely different, but it's good to build up your aerobic capacity.
And what about running? How do you fit that into like the structure of
not very much. Leading into a race, I'll run on a treadmill or go and do small runs. But like I've just never had a race where if it's longer than maybe 5k, I won't push it too hard in the running training part because I just go.
Yeah.
I literally hate training that part so much.
Yeah, wow.
But I want to do a half Ironman, and the run's 21k, so a half marathon, and I think I actually have to train for the run.
Yeah.
But yeah.
The half Ironman's pretty full on.
Yeah.
How big is the cycle and swim portion of that?
So I think it's a 1.6 to 8k swim, and then it will be a 90k ride.
Yeah, wow. So, and then the
and
run
then
is
the
at
half
the end,
marathon.
isn't it?
Yeah.
And the run at the end of a try feels very different than like just a regular run.
Oh, completely different. Your legs are so fatigued coming off. So I like to say in a triathlon that you swim with your arms. So you like to use your legs, but like try to use your arms as much as possible because you don't really need them again. And then you obviously cycle with your legs, and then your legs cramping off the bike and into a runs. You can't explain that experience.
Yeah. Where would you like to do that half Ironman?
I'm thinking Perth because I've heard it's the flattest one.
Okay.
And I don't like riding hills, so hopefully Perth in December.
Yeah.
Is that
the top, like, I guess, triathlete kind of goal that you have set for yourself?
I would love to do a full Ironman one day, but I think it would have to be a point where I'd have to be in a career point where I could probably train enough, because that's a lot of training goes into a full Ironman. But that they do say you get better at Ironman distance when you get older. So I think I'd like to have kids and get that out of the way, then go for a full Ironman.
How do you deal with the like internal talk that happens like in the tough spots during like a try?
Yeah, look, I don't think you can train for that. It just comes from experience of like the more races you do, the better your mental talk gets, I guess. But it's always going to be bad because it's such a mind-numbing sport that like sitting on a bike for even 20k's, you're like, it's actually quite boring, and you've just got to like look around and look forward and think, I like to imagine how good the ending's going to be, and like what I'm going to eat. And
so you're someone that like has the motivation of the end, like
absolutely. I think I can imagine how good the end is, and I know when you cross the finish line there's nothing that can give you that adrenaline rush. Well, you're literally running on adrenaline, so yeah, just knowing that the end is near.
So I like doing endurance training, like just like on machines.
Yep.
So I'll do like a half marathon or a marathon, road, ski, run version, whatever. And like it sounds really stupid, but for me, like if I can just picture that number, like seeing the 21,000, or 42,000, or what, you know, or 10K 0, whatever the thing is, like, in my head, it's like once I hit that, like the rest of my day will be fine.
Yeah.
Like, it's like some weird like thing, and I've always wondered, like, do other people, like, I'm like, is this like a weird disorder that I have? Like someday I'll just wake up and I'll be like I need to see like that I've ran 10Ks, or I need to see that I've like done whatever this thing is. Right? Or when I used to do CrossFit, it'd be like I need to
weight or
like more like endurance based thing. It'd be like I need to do 1,000 burpees, and I need to like see that I've ticked off like some weird number disorder thing. And I've always wondered, like, do other people have like versions of those things?
I'd say yes, it's very similar. I was just gonna say something, I forgot when you said that. Like, I visualize the end, and I think that really helps, having that picture of like running down the chute with everybody like cheering you on.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think I do have like, I like to move every day. I used to be very addicted to like you said, the goals and the numbers and everything. And I honestly was like I was at my fittest, but my body was at the worst, like most broken, and like I mentally was like so anxious and probably in the lowest I've ever been. So I think coming back and finding a happy medium of training and just keeping it simple. As long as you move every day, it doesn't matter how much you do, as long as you kind of finish the circle on your watch. Or like at least move for half an hour, it's better than nothing.
I think it's some very good advice to end the podcast on.
Thanks.
If people want to find you, how can they do so?
So my personal page is discovering_ET. So it's like discovering it, kind of, because I was traveling so much. It started as my uni page, and then I was like, I traveled too much, and it became like my life discovering page. So that's for all my adventures in my life. That's my normal page. And then the Wellness League pod is on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. And that's my podcast.
Awesome.
And the same, it's on Instagram and TikTok is the same name.
Cool. I definitely recommend your podcast. I think it's really good. I think you're doing really good for just like being consistent, having a good podcast out here in Adelaide. I think it's really cool to start seeing more creators within Adelaide. Like, I love to see that. I think we need more of a community. So make sure to give her a follow, and thanks for listening to today's pod.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, good.